Happy Monday, all you minties. Uncanny Omar here from Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions. And join me for your advanced look at the Avengers by Jonathan Hickman Omnibus, Volume 2. This is the new printing from Marvel Comics. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, before going any further, I do want to thank the folks at Marvel for sending us an advanced copy of this omnibus. This omnibus is due out in the direct market and book market on May 9th or 10th, depending on where you get your books. So this is the direct market cover. The cover they're using for the standard edition is the one they've used previously when it was just one cover, that we didn't have a direct market or standard edition cover. But that one is the one by Azad Ribic. This is my original printing, and this is the new printing over here by Del Keown. You have the Avengers logo up here. The A is kind of blocked by Hank's arm right there. La Roca, Bianchi, Yu, Morales, Skitty, Walker, Caselli, and Deodato at the bottom. And of course, Avengers by Jonathan Hickman. Now, I've done a comparison already of the spines. As a matter of fact, I'll just pop up the video from the previous printing. Yes, the A's are misaligned in the new printing. And I was also informed that the A's for the standard edition are also misaligned on the new printing. So that is something to keep in mind. But this is what the original printing looked like, and this is what the new printing looked like. And I think it's the A on the volume 2 that is messed up. And the back of the book right here, the ISBN, it's a little bit smaller this time around, so you get more of this picture right there. And the Marvel logo is now down here, rated T+. The font looks a little bit different on the new printing. And the retail price is $125. Underneath the dust jacket, but before we do, let's look at the flaps right here. That is something interesting that I've noticed, is that they seem to be blowing up the images from the previous printing in the new printings. And this is just like the Jonathan Hickman Fantastic Four, or any of his Omnis. Just pretty bare minimum there. So we're going to open this up, talk about the stories collected in here, and then do a comparison to the previous printing. I guess, yeah, some minor spoilers going in, where we are, what sets up this particular run, and then what's missing from this collection. In my Volume 1, I did some suggested reading before jumping into Volume 1, and of course, before reading this, you should definitely read Volume 1, because this gets a little confusing, especially in the non-linear way that Hickman tells his story. Alright, let's go ahead and crack that open, but again, just minor spoilers here moving forward. Alright, let's go ahead and crack this open. I'm not sure if you noticed or not, but yes, the A is filled in with all of those characters that appear through these pages. So, Avengers by Jonathan Hickman. Here are all the credits. All of these talented pencilers, inkers, colorists, letters, and cover artists. Anybody from Simone Bianchi, you have Lionel Francis Yu, Kev Walker, Stefano Caselli, Salvador La Roca, Mike Deodato Jr. over there, and Valerio Schetti, just to name a few of the artists working on this book. So, as any other Jonathan Hickman book, whether it's printed by Marvel Comics or printed by Image Comics, he puts all the covers in the back because he wants you to experience this like you are reading a prose novel, so you don't know what issue you're on exactly. That's just the way that he wants you to experience these books. He's done the same thing with the Fantastic Four, and he did the same thing with House and Powers of X, did the same thing with Secret Warriors. So I know some people like it, some people don't care, some people are indifferent about it, and then others are like, I would like to know what issue I'm on, because that's how I keep track of what issue I enjoyed. How am I going to tell, oh man, that issue between Hyperion and Thor was just amazing. You know the one from the Omnibus, but I can't tell you which issue it is because it didn't have a cover. So all the covers are in the back. All right. So let's go ahead and talk about what is collected in this book. So this collects the remaining issues of Jonathan Hickman's Avengers and New Avengers. So you have Avengers 24 through 44. Keep in mind that is a 2012 relaunch of Avengers. And you have New Avengers 13 through 33. This book has 1,088 pages. So now we've gone past Infinity, that big crossover that introduced us to the Black Order. We've seen these two teams, the New Avengers and Avengers, play big roles in both of those, or in that particular storyline. And now we see them leading up to something huge. So the first part of this, the first third of this book, because the next 2/3 is something called Time Runs Out. The first third of this book is talking about the Time Stone, or the Time Gem, sorry, and how it pretty much sends some of the team members into a journey through the past, through the future. First they go in 50 years, then it's like 500 years, 5,000 years, and 50,000 years. You get to see the original Avengers come back from the past. So again, it's got a lot of time travel elements in here. And that's pretty much the first story arc right there. You do have a new team of Illuminati. They have a brand new leader this time around. You still don't know who to trust. And along with the Illuminati, you have a brand new team of the Cabal. So then you get to the insanity that is Time Runs Out. So what Jonathan Hickman decided to do in the pages of his run on Avengers is tell a non-linear story, but it all starts making sense. I swear, that's just the way he writes. He writes as if you're just as smart as he is, and I know some people consider that pretentious, but I kind of dig it because when you have it all figured out, you're like, man, I'm the smartest guy in the room. I've got this figured out. But that's the way that he writes this particular story. There is a little bit of a time jump in here, and it's 8 months. So the 8 months that we haven't seen these characters, a lot has happened. We have a new team leader. It's so awesome to see Cannonball and Sunspot step up to be big players in this particular storyline. We see a division between Captain America and Iron Man, but not just Captain America and Iron Man, but other Avengers as well. I will say there's another story that I think is very important to read too. Actually, two things. Number one is Original Sin, because something happens in the pages of Original Sin, and that storyline is not collected in here. Just kind of the aftermath of that. That changes the character of Captain America, like physically changes him. Then there's a story or a series called Avengers World. It was co-written by Nick Spencer. Jonathan Hickman wrote the first few issues, and then Nick Spencer wrote the rest. It's been available in complete collection and in trade paperbacks. It's never been available in omnibus format. When I first read this, I was confused. I was a little unhappy with how some of the character interactions weren't there. There was lack of character development. But reading this along with Avengers World really filled out what was missing from here. Because this is an epic story. And I mean as epic as Avengers stories get. It's up there, to me at least, with the Kang Dynasty. It's up there with the Michael Saga or the Korvac Saga. Just some of my favorite epic stories featuring the Avengers. That's what this feels like. And the scope of it all is just insane what he does through here. To keep up with a huge cast of characters, some that are brand new, and then of course others that are have been Avengers for a long time. It's just crazy. Now, the other big thing that's missing from here, because as you read this, when you get to the end, you might think, wait a minute, I feel like I missed something. Did it end? Because this feels like something else happens after this. Immediately after this is when you need to read Secret Wars. Because, as I said in my Volume 1 overview, you have Secret Warriors, and that kind of foreshadows some things that happens later on in the Fantastic Four. His Ultimates run and the Ultimate Thor, Ultimate Hawkeye. Those stories kind of foreshadow some of the things that happen in Secret Wars. Then you have Fantastic Four, and then that leads into this, and everything leads into Secret Wars 2015. Not the original Secret Wars, of course. So that's what's missing from here. It was never collected in the original printing, and it wasn't collected in this printing. Marvel tends to keep out big events like that. We've seen in recent years that they put in events like in the Thor by Jason Aaron Volume 2. They're putting in the War of the Realms, or I'm sorry, War of the Kings. No, War of the Realms. I had it right the first time. In the King in Black, or rather the Ven Omnibus by Donny Cates, they put in the King in Black event. So I don't know if they were to remap this now, if they would put it in or not, but it's not in here. The book already has over 1,000 pages, like I mentioned, so I don't know if they would, because I feel like Secret Wars was such a big event that it really can have its own omnibus. Actually, as a matter of fact, I think with all the Battle World stuff and tie-ins, it could have 2 omnis. So Secret Wars ends the particular era of Hickman's Avengers. So that's where everything goes. And it is available in oversized hardcover, no omnibus of that. It's available in trade paperback in case you want to know how everything ends and what he's been really leading up to with all this incursion and this talk of the final incursion, which happens through here. But the payoff doesn't happen until that particular book. You're going to see a lot of Doctor Doom in here. You're going to see a huge fight between the characters of Black Panther and Namor. And then, of course, what ends up happening to Tony and Steve Rogers. I actually love the way that that's written. I love how uncertain things are and how you start cheering for one side of things and then something else happens and you're like, oh, wait. These two can work it out. Oh, it's so good. This is definitely one of those big epic moments. And as I mentioned before, when I was talking about earlier epic things that you're trying to remember from issues, yes, Hyperion and Thor through here, so freaking awesome. And of course, always love to see my boys Cannonball and Roberto da Costa just step up and become some kind of leaders. Cannonball goes through some changes here too that I did not, me and any X fan I think, did not see coming. We were like, what? Is this reality? Is this real life? I remember reading it for the first time thinking, surely this is a possible future. But there is a time jump in here. Things are non-linear, but I promise that as you keep reading it, the more it makes sense. You're going to be a little lost. Man, some of the things that Doctor Strange does too. What the hell? Alright, let's look at the back matter, because that's all I will say. I know I'm being very vague, and you're looking at the pretty pictures, but the least I say about it, the more you're going to enjoy this, believe me. As if you weren't sure already, the final page, by the way, of this omnibus does say there's only one Secret Wars, and that's exactly where this leads. Alright, looking at the variants now. So these are all the variant covers. Some of these were used for Omnis, like for classic Omnis too. Let's actually skip some pages here. I'll come back to the back here, because I know there's a couple of double or spread pages that I can do a comparison to the first printing of. Hey, New Avengers 22 right there. And these are all textless covers too. You get the issue number up at the top where it originally came from. And much like a lot of variant covers, some of these have absolutely nothing to do with what happens internally in the comics. So don't be too surprised if you see some covers and you're like, oh, what happens there? Guys, believe me, nothing happens that has to do with the cover sometimes. Love that take on, was it 171? Which was drawn by Walter Simonson. Yeah, some nice covers here, and then some cover process all the way in the back. Original pencils right here by Simone Bianchi. And some Jim Chung original artwork. And then your end paper. Alright, let's look at this binding quick, and then we'll do a comparison to the original printing. 1,088 pages. It is sewn binding, and not much of an eye. This one printed at the iMac printer. The original printing up at the top, printed at the Donnelly printer, and there is that huge eye. Now we're going to do a comparison to the internal artwork and the way the pages are laid out, and of course the paper stock, which I guess the paper stock I can do now. Yeah, the new printing has thinner glossy paper. I mean, it's still glossy paper, but it's thinner than the paper stock that was used in the original printing. Alright, let's look at the differences here. This book has been stretched quite a number of times, has been read I think a total of 3 times. I know I let Amanda borrow it, so 4 times. This book has just been stretched. I think I'd stretched it 3 times because it had a tight binding. But I mainly wanted to look at the white pages because there's a lot of white pages in, well, most Jonathan Hickman books. So there's more bleed through over here than there is in the Donnelly printer. You can see a little bit of the word bubble there, but you can see more of it over here to kind of get an idea. The colors, though, most of the time in the iMac printer, the colors seem to be a little bit darker, but this time around on the Donnelly printer, it seems like they're a little bit darker compared to that of the iMac printer over here of the new printing. So yeah, it looks like they're darker over here than this new printing. And again, just showcasing some of the whites right here. You can see the word bubble a little bit here and the frame, and the same thing over here. But mainly notice the way that the book lays over because of that eye and the way that it's bound compared to the Donnelly printer. Let's actually look. Took me a second, but I figured Simone Bianchi did a lot of double page spread, so from what I remember. So this is the original printing, the way the book lays over. You can see more of the artwork here. Definitely see more of the artwork in there with Doctor Strange just snapping. Whereas here you do have to hold it down, but even holding it down you can't see the full ear. You can't even see his head. Not that you could a lot over here, but definitely you could tell more of what's happening here instead of here, which kind of looks like one of those old school Mad, you know what I'm talking about, the Mad magazine where you put the pages together and makes a different image. But anyway, that's what that looks like. So you do lose a little bit of the artwork in that gutter loss there. Let's look a couple of the wraparound covers that are reprinted here as spread pages in the back of the book. So you can see the way the books lay over differently. You get more artwork over here, and then the new printing, definitely have to hold it down because of the gutter loss right there. And just one more image for comparison's sake. Again, the colors a little bit darker, not by much, but just a tad bit. But that's it. That, as they say, is that. If you're interested in purchasing this omnibus, don't forget to check out our sponsors.
If you're in Europe and you're interested in buying these books, definitely check out Walt's Comic Shop in Berlin, Germany. They have the cheapest pre-order prices, flat shipping rate of €12 for all EU countries, emails answered within 24 hours, waltscomicshop.com, and you can use the code Near Mint Condition at checkout and get free shipping for all EU countries with your first order over €40. That's Walt's Comic Shop, your reliable source for omnis and premium collected editions in Europe. Ding!
cheapgraphicnovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget that CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And that was the content, the page count, and build of this omnibus. Let me know in the comments down below if you are picking it up, if you missed out on it the first time around, if you have the original printing, if you are picking it up this time around, which cover you're going to get, if the spines bother you, or if things like that don't bother you. I would love to know all those comments down below. Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, and ring that bell for notifications. Oh, and also, are you putting this in alphabetical order with the rest of your omnis? Or are you going to keep this with the Hickverse of the Marvel Universe in omnibus format? This was the Uncanny Omar. Thank you all so much for watching. Smash that like button on the way out. Everyone, stay healthy and safe out there. Much love.